Things are finally starting to all come together, and I mean that in a very scary way because I just realized why my channel took such a deep dive here on YouTube. And the real cause behind this is actually because somehow I managed to violate child safety guidelines, the community guidelines for child safety. Now, this didn't have anything to do with anything that I've done recently, and this has everything to do with what I did 12 years ago when I was a minor. My friends and I were outside shooting blow dart guns and hitting things with katanas because it was fun, and that came back to bite me in the ass. So I guess that's why my content took such a deep dive, and I had to sit down and do a training exercise. Finally, the warning will be removed within the next month or so, so I'm not exactly rushing to continue uploading to YouTube as heavily as I have been until this time has passed. I had figured it was something to do with an advertisement. I feel like that I've been investigated by YouTube for my criminal behavior. And well, I touched base on this last night on stream for Twitter and for Twitch. I was planning on doing some VR last night, and I just was having a bad night. Like, my friends didn't get on Phasmophobia with me, so I said, okay, I'll just go to Beat Saber. And of course, I wasn't going to play Beat Saber on YouTube or anything, so it was working fine on these other platforms. But I never really got to play Beat Saber because I couldn't get the game to start. It wouldn't boot the game the right way. I mean, eventually, later in the night, I did, and I made myself feel better. But I had a hard time because I was thinking about the next day, which is today, and my mediation to finalize my divorce. This was something that kind of hit me all at the same time, with my YouTube channel taking a deep dive because I violated the child safety guidelines, which I didn't really expect because I was a minor in the video doing dangerous things. I got in trouble for that. You know, I could have had some hindsight, I suppose. But let me move on. So on top of my YouTube taking a deep dive, my divorce mediation finally continuing to be somewhat finalized because it's not completely finalized yet. We just have our family plan or whatever you want to call it. They all say different things. And then just the fact that the VR wasn't working, I was hit with a heavy wave of self-doubt and depression. I couldn't stop myself from thinking all I'm going to be is Peach's ex-husband. I'm never going to be Botch Drums. But of course, on a normal day-to-day basis, that is never further from the truth. I know I'm Botch Drums. I know who I am. I am a content creator on all these platforms. I am a father of two beautiful children. I bust my ass to make sure that I make this happen every day, and I'm very proud of that, and I do not have that self-doubt on a regular basis. But because all three of those things were just the three elements just making My Chemical X, just bashing that all together and me suckling it down like a goddamn depressed 14-year-old. I just really had a hard time last night, and I started to feel better once I got Beat Saber to work. It was fantastic. I love Beat Saber. That was like the first real time I got to sit down and play it by myself. I've watched Angel play it quite a few times. Also, credit to her for getting it to work in the first place, because I could not figure out how to get the VR to work last night. But as far as my divorce is going, it's going to be a clear-cut 50-50 case, and I don't really need to go into any details about that. My co-parenting with the To Be Better podcast has never been better. I've been getting along better with them, Chris and Peaches. You know, of course, there have been some problems here and there in the past, nothing too crazy. I of course, started some of those problems originally, not to just kind of bring up old shit, but we had a little headbutt a long time ago about getting the kids safe from Hurricane Ian, because I have some real people in my life that I know that lost their entire homes with their children inside of the homes during Hurricane Ian. In the middle of it, they had to evacuate in like 12-foot water, like barely surviving. it was a nightmare of a time. And I knew that we were going to be without power for about 2.5 weeks, and we were running out of provisions and water. So I was very grateful for Chris and Peaches for taking our kids to leave the state. And they went to multiple northern states and sent me pictures of aquariums and museums and stuff. And when they came back, I made the lighthearted joke of, how was the vacation? They did not like that. They said that was not a vacation. That was a $4,000 expense. And as anyone would expect, that rubbed me in the wrong way. Because why wouldn't you just say, yeah, it was great? You know, why wouldn't you just be like, yeah, I had a good time. It was fine. You know, I'm glad that we were capable of getting away from a fucking natural disaster, and I'm happy. Because then I brought up the point, hey, why didn't you just go to Orlando? You would have been fine, had safety, power, water, and everything there. You would have been just all fine and dandy, you know? You wouldn't have had any problems. Well, anyway, I digress because we ended up resolving that issue. We talked it through. It was no big deal. And that was my first actual impression of Chris as the stepfather of my own kids. And that was the first impression I ever had of him. So then I received this information of all these people from, you know, that just dislike him about things that he's done that I can neither like confirm nor deny. They came around telling me all this shit, and I went to Peaches and I said, hey, like, I'm not gonna say I don't have any evidence to this stuff, but I mean, it kind of made sense to me. She took that and fucking ran with it for a minute, and they had to fucking talk that out. And of course, I started that, so I got in trouble for it. And that's fine, because, you know, I probably shouldn't have done that. And thus, then, that was about the worst that it's gotten. And ever since then, we've been hanging out, playing chess, having a good time with holidays. I went over there for my birthday. It really hasn't been bad, and I'm very grateful that things have been very peaceful and safe for as long as has been. So he's definitely come around. He gave me a great Christmas. I think the future is going to be a lot better, but this video isn't really supposed to be about our relationship when it first started. I merely brought that up as like a reference point to how it was really stressing me out last night preparing for this mediation to finalize our divorce, because the stress of it last night really did get to me really hard, and I've been kind of feeling some very heavy waves of depression, and I wanted to bring that to you guys' attention because my content actually halted, and all three of these things, it makes me feel like I'm not going to be Botch G Drums. I'm always going to be this weird second place guy for everything. Just, I'm only going to be Peaches' ex-husband. I'm never going to be myself. And of course, in that moment of doubt, yeah, I could just shut up and deal with it, because I don't feel that way. Like I said, I don't feel that way on a daily basis. I only really started to feel that way last night because of all the things that were coming together, you know, the four nations living in harmony on me, and they were harming me. Well, basically, that's really it. I didn't want to talk too much about the rest of whatever. I'm excited to get back to content creation on YouTube. Of course, I need to be a little patient with it and kind of just take things with a grain of salt. But I did just kind of want to openly put this out here and say that I'm not dead on YouTube. I will return, and I will come back strong and mighty. Like, I mean, I'll have some plans here and there. I had to kind of revamp my stuff, just kind of design things. I'll come back strong, but yeah, I guess that's really all I want to talk about. Thanks.
Complete.